The neurobiology of wanting nothing. The state of wanting nothing isn't laziness. It's a biochemical dead end, and the way out is counterintuitive. Motivation can't be found, it can only be provoked. By deliberately worsening your situation, you adapt to good things. You never adapt to bad. This paradox is the key to jump-starting yourself. Rage is the emergency fuel of the psyche, the fuel of last resort. To start a stalled engine of will, you need to set fire to the hormones of survival. How the body blocks willpower and how to fix it. Apathy, stupor, lack of will. This isn't a character flaw. It's a specific operating mode of the nervous system where dopamine and serotonin pathways are depleted or unresponsive. Positive stimuli don't work. The future doesn't motivate. This is a biochemical pit. There are fundamental neurobiological laws that explain this pit and point to the only way out. The first law, the asymmetry of adaptation. Sensitivity to all good things decreases over time. Sensitivity to bad things remains constant. When receiving serotonin pleasure, dopamine anticipation of reward, endorphins euphoria, the body over time reduces receptor sensitivity. Hormone levels can be high, but the response is weak. Paradise becomes the background. The sole exception is cortisol. Sensitivity to it never drops. Cortisol is the herald hormone. Its signal always screams. Threat, destruction, death. You cannot adapt to this. It's the law of survival. Corollary. When the system is deaf to pluses, it can only be jump-started through a minus. The second law, the tipping point. Between stress cortisol, adrenaline and action, norepinephrine, there is a threshold value. Chronic, smoldering stress, hopelessness, humiliation produces cortisol and adrenaline, but this isn't enough for action. These hormones sustain a state of freeze, victimhood, flight. When stress reaches a critical, intolerable point, a qualitative leap occurs. To avoid imminent destruction, the system triggers a release of norepinephrine. Norepinephrine isn't the hormone of panic. It's the hormonal command to attack, the source of rage, focus, and energy for a counterattack. It's the body's final reserve fuel. Corollary. To break out of stupor, you must not reduce suffering, but intensify it to the threshold of triggering a norepinephrine response. The third law, artificial inescapability. The brain distinguishes between real and hypothetical threats. Thoughts of failure, fantasies of humiliation do not trigger the norepinephrine mechanism. They deplete it. The trigger occurs only with real, physical, social, or existential confrontation that the system perceives as a direct threat to status, safety, or life. Corollary. Thinking about the problem isn't enough. You must enter a situation where you receive an unambiguous, tangible response from the world about your weakness. The fourth law, the nail of optimal length. Apathy is a state where the nail of discomfort is long enough to cause whining discontent, but not sharp enough to force you to get up and leave. Action begins not when it's bad, but when further tolerance is impossible. Corollary. The task is to find and consciously deepen your own nail, to increase pressure to a value exceeding your tolerance threshold. The fifth law, revenge as the driver. The release of norepinephrine and the subsequent action have no intrinsic value to the system. Value lies in the result, a change in status, restoration of boundaries, proof of strength. Norepinephrine energy must be immediately directed toward a specific, achievable, victorious action. Otherwise, it turns into anxiety and exhaustion. Corollary: the scenario humiliation to rage to action must be planned. The goal is not to receive humiliation, but to use the energy it provokes to take a specific height you couldn't take before. The metaphysics of state, rage as a gift. Why rage isn't destruction, but a salvage tool. The state of wanting nothing is the nervous system's surrender. It's a white flag raised by a body that considers the fight meaningless. Motivation is a contract with the future. Apathy is the termination of that contract. The only force capable of tearing up the surrender agreement is rage. Not hysterics, not resentment, but cold metabolic fury. On a biological level, this is precisely the transition from cortisol stagnation to norepinephrine breakthrough. This mechanism is for emergencies. It's not for daily use. It's for moments when you're already in the abyss and all ladders are broken. Then, all you have left is to push off the bottom. Rage is that very push. The practice of creating the push. Algorithm for consciously triggering the norepinephrine circuit. Diagnostics. Identify the area where your inadequacy is most tolerable to you yourself. Where are you reconciling with discomfort? Finances, social status, physical form, relationships. Specification. Formulate a humiliating but real scenario that will prove this inadequacy to you in a tangible form. Example for social status. Go to a high-tier place, an expensive club, a closed event, and receive a public assessment of your non-compliance. You're out of your depth. Get out. Action. Execute this act. Don't simulate it. Receive the blow. Important. The blow must be real. A look, a word, an action from the world. Capturing the tipping point. At the moment of receiving the blow, turn off analysis. Turn on sensory perception. Fixate on the physical sensation of burning, tightness, cold, the somatic marker of rage. This is the fuel. Immediate redirection. Have a pre-planned, simple, absolutely victorious action ready to perform on this wave. For example, after humiliation, do push-ups to failure, run a kilometer at maximum speed, write a resignation letter from an unbearable job. The goal is to give norepinephrine energy an instant, constructive outlet and cement the result. Bugs and warnings. Don't simulate. Self-deprecating thoughts, watching motivational videos about failures, don't work. You need a real blow to your social standing, body, or self-esteem that you cannot immediately rationalize away. Avoid the point of no return. The pressure must be powerful, but not destructive. The goal is not to fall into depression from humiliation, but to use its energy. Don't choose impossible opponents or obviously fatal scenarios. Don't make it a routine. This is a starting tool, like a starter chord. Once the engine is running, switch to regular fuel, dopamine from small victories, serotonin from the process. The memory effect. The nervous system remembers this path. After several such starts, your threshold for entering apathy will rise. You will know there is a way out, and it's in your hands. This knowledge reduces the likelihood of deep and prolonged stupor. The state of wanting nothing is not a verdict. It is a specific biochemical mode that can only be changed in one way: by consciously changing the chemical composition of the reality you are immersed in. You cannot think yourself into a state of desire. You can only act yourself into it. And sometimes the first action must be the action that makes further inaction impossible. Willpower runs out. The power of rage begins where the first ends. It is the body's final argument in the dispute with itself about the right to move forward. Use this argument wisely. If this video helped you, subscribe now, because we are just getting started.